Today I want to share with you one of my inventions about planting trees in arid dryland desert areas. I think we all know how important it is to green and to plant trees in our poor, suffering planet. And at the same time, I would say there are so many people who live in dryland areas which would be happy to grow their own food in a food forest situation, for example, but they can't make it because of the dry and degraded land. And you can get such lands very cheaply or even for free in some places, but you can't grow anything there normally. And there are some wonderful inventions like, for example, Groasis water box or any other cocoon type systems for starting trees and establishing trees in the desert. And the question could be, if it is possible and it really works, why do people not use it in a large scale? And I'd say the answer is price. Like, for example, this one grow box, it costs around 20 euros. And even for us Europeans or Americans, 20 euros, it's okay for 10 trees, 100 trees maybe, but not for forest. It's too expensive. Let alone people who live in the dry areas, most of them wouldn't even afford these 20 euros. So this invention is for making the same result, but with a lot less price. So I'll try to draw how it works. And I'll try to do my best to explain it, and I hope that somebody could really benefit from it. And I hope that for somebody it could be a start for his or her own food forest in some place where nobody believes anybody could grow anything. So, let's say this is your surface. Surface area, like a section, cross section. This is soil, this is the surface area of the soil. What you do is you excavate a pit, let's say something about this deep. For example, I'm just trying to show the very idea. And in the middle, so you take all this sand or soil out, put it on the sides for now, and in the middle you plant a seedling, small tree, let's say 1 year old, which is woody already and quite strong already, but small enough to be easy to establish. And you plant it in, and then before burying the soil back, what you do is you put a layer of polyethylene, something like this. You bury the sides down so that it doesn't get blown away in the wind, or so that it's more difficult for weed competition to get in there because of the shallow roots of the grasses. And you virtually make like a big funnel like this, with a very small opening just around the tree base, the crown of the tree. And on top of it, you deposit a small amount of soil to cover it completely. It's very important not to leave any part exposed to sun, because polyethylene will degrade in the sun. You can get polyethylene very cheaply in most places of the world, and in this system it doesn't have to be new even. If it's not exposed to sun, to ultraviolet radiation, then it will last forever, and you can use very old polyethylene and you can reuse this many times for next and next and next trees. So this one goes away, yeah, and the sand or small stones, pebbles, even the best, so it shouldn't be anything which will get blown away from the wind, so small pebbles are the best, are deposited on top. So what is happening now? This layer of polyethylene, which is buried under and which makes virtually like a big bowl or a big basin, it has three functions. First thing is, from the top, it functions like a big funnel to direct all the rain. When the rain comes, whenever it comes and how much little it could come, it all gets directed in this small area exactly around the tree. So if there are just a thin layer of pebbles on top of the polyethylene, it won't take much rain to get enough water around the tree, which will soak in as in a column below the tree, and will force the roots to go down to search for the deeper water, because this water goes down. So this is first function of the polyethylene. It's like a funnel to direct all the rainwater here. The second function is what happens from beneath. It stops all evaporation. All evaporation which would go up, it is stopped by the polyethylene. Nothing could get out, so it stays moist for a long, long time, depending on amount of moisture and of soil's water holding capacity, but it will stay moist for a very long time. And the third function of the polyethylene is that it cuts out almost completely any weed competition for the new tree establishing, so the tree could grow. What is happening is that anything which would seed on top of the polyethylene will dry out very quickly and will die very quickly, because it's a very thin layer on top of the polyethylene and it will dry out very soon. So nothing will survive there. Anything which germinates under in these moist, good conditions won't survive, because it won't get through the polyethylene and it won't get any sunlight, so it will die because of the starvation of the sunlight. Photosynthesis won't happen. Any weed competition here, which could reach with the roots in the moist conditions and compete and suck away the moisture from the trees, can be cut down by burying deep enough these layers, this side of the polyethylene. So it needs to be deep enough so that the shallow grass roots won't penetrate here. They won't be able to go all around it. So you can adjust it as needed. Now, this depends on, if it will work, it will depend on how much rain do you get and how often do you get it, and the water holding capacity, because the reservoir for holding the water is just the soil here, nothing else. So if the water holding capacity is really bad, if you get really little rain and very infrequent, let's say once a year or even once every 2 or 3 years, it won't be enough. So now we can make one modification for the same thing. So you dig the same bowl or funnel, whatever you call it, the big pit in the soil. You make the same way the polyethylene. Here it is. You cover it with small pebbles or stones or coarse sand or gravel or whatever you get, the same way. But now there is some adjustment to it. Instead of planting tree, well, let's say here we have this hole in the polyethylene, yeah? The funnel will direct all the water here. Instead of planting tree here, you plant it, say about here will be the root ball and there is the tree. And in the polyethylene you make a small bump up around the tree, so that all the water which goes there, it passes the place, almost nothing gets into where the tree is, and it goes here. What happens here? You make again second pit. You dig the second pit. Obviously you do it before you make this one, yeah? So you dig the second deeper pit, which you line with polyethylene as well, and you fill it with stones. The bigger the better. It will hold more water, more spaces will be there, and the bigger the stones are, the less you will get less capillary effect, which will draw the moisture away, so that the moisture, the water, will stay here, full of water. Basically, what happens now? All the rain goes into this bowl, and it is kept here. And since this polyethylene and this polyethylene doesn't get any sunlight, it will last forever, as long as you need it. When you don't need it, you take it away and you use it for next trees, for example. And this you can make so that it will hold water for 5 or 10 years even. You could grow anywhere besides perhaps the dry valleys of Antarctica. Any Atacama Desert, any conditions will be enough. If it gets few drops of rain every 5 or 7 years, it will be enough for you, because you get the water concentrated here, you get it soaked in this place, hold in the bowl, protected from evaporation. And what is the benefit for the tree, you could ask? You put a wick. It could be something like 2-3 millimeter diameter cotton rope, or any other thing which will wick the water. Be careful how thick you make it, because it will determine amount of water soaked through it. So you take a wick here in the deepest part and put it over the edge and near the tree roots. This will slowly wick the water and will moisten this place. And if this bowl is big enough and this wick is thin enough, it will be enough for even years to wick the water and to constantly moisten this area and fill the water column below. And it will last you until the next small rain comes after 2 or 3 or however years, and it will fill again and it will go. Of course, when you install it, you need to fill it first. Then it will last you until the next rain event. So now about few adjustments, what you need to be aware of. One thing is that this size, the volume of this bowl, so to say, will determine how long can you go between the rain events. The bigger the bowl, the longer time will be. It will be sufficient for longer time to go until the next rain comes. And you can make it huge. You can get big enough a piece of polyethylene to make this thing huge. No problem at all. Size of this funnel part of polyethylene will determine how much water can you catch during one rain event. If you have big enough rains, you can use maybe 1 square meter only. You don't need much. It will be enough. If you have a situation where you have only a couple millimeters of rain for a very long time, then you will have to make it big. And even, I don't know if you will ever need it, but even if you happen to have a situation when you need to really expand this thing, you can use many rolls of polyethylene and put them like shingles here. And by shingles I mean that you put one roll here and second roll on top of it, so that it overlaps and the water drips down on the first one. The third one again goes up and drips on the second one, and so you can go almost indefinitely. You just need to get slope enough for water to be carried down. So you can expand it almost indefinitely, how much you need. And one final remark, just in case that you get too much water. It can happen, either if you made a mistake calculating how big of this funnel you need, and you made it too big, or you have a rain event which was unexpectedly big, heavy rain. It sounds funny, but you can drown your tree in the desert. Just to avoid it, what you do is you make the spillway here. You make this lip of the polyethylene bowl lower than all the other sides. What will be the result is that the water will collect up to this level, and when it gets more, it will spill out here. Even if you are very cautious about getting still mess there, you can lead it far, far away with one strip of polyethylene made in a gutter shape and buried, and it will all go away. So just in case if it's too much water, it won't drown your tree, it will go away there. So I hope this helps, and I hope that somebody could really benefit of it, because it's a really cheap thing. In most parts of the world you can get polyethylene really cheaply, and you don't need a brand new roll of polyethylene. You can use all the odd used pieces. You can put them like shingles, and even if they're very small polyethylene bags or whatever, small pieces, odd shaped, dirty old pieces of polyethylene collected in the garbage, you can still use them as shingles and fill all this place, and it will work. It won't work here, you need one piece there, but here it will work. And you can make such system next to nothing, just for the work of digging and laying all this thing in. And you can get your trees started. And once you establish your pioneer hardy desert trees which will tolerate drought, then you can start to establish fruit trees, and you can get food forest in a few years' time, and you can feed yourself and your family on the land which you get almost for free, because nobody else considered this land worth anything, because nobody could grow anything on it. But you can now, hopefully. God bless.